Hello there. At this juncture, we will elaborate the life of Rizal in abroad, especially the ophthalmic surgeon in Hong Kong. So without further ado, let's get started. Rizal left in Europe for Hong Kong, where he lived from November 1891 to June 1892. His reason for leaving Europe were: life was unbearable in Europe because of his political differences with MH del Pilar and other Filipino in Spain. To be near his idolized Philippines and family. The farewell to Europe. Rizal left Ghent for Paris on October 3, 1891. He proceeded by train to Marseille, and on October 18, he boarded the steamer Melbourne bound for Hong Kong. During that time, he was a student and was made as a Mason on October 12, 1898 at Zetland in the East Lodge No. 508 in Singapore under the jurisdiction of the M.W. Grand Lodge of England. He became a senator of the Philippines on his later years. And then Rizal arrived in Hong Kong on November 20, 1891. He was welcomed by the Filipino residents, especially his old friend, Jose Mabasa. He then established his residence at No. 5 de Aguilar Street, No. 2 Rednaxla Terrace, where he also opened his medical clinic. December 1, 1891, he wrote his parents asking their permission to return home. On the same date, his brother-in-law, Manuel T. Hidalgo, sent him a letter, relating the sad news of the deportation of 25 persons in Calamba, including Father, Neneng, Sisa, Lucia, Paciano, and the rest of us. Family reunion in Hong Kong. Before Christmas of 1891, he was gladdened by the arrival of his father, brother and Silvestre Ubaldo, his brother-in-law, in Hong Kong. Not long afterwards, his mother and sisters Lucia, Josefa, and Trinidad also arrived. January 31, 1892, he wrote to Blutmentrit recounting their pleasant life in Hong Kong. Ophthalmic surgeon in Hong Kong. Dr. Lorenzo P. Marquez, a friend and admirer who helped him to build up a wide clientele. He successfully operated on his mother's left eye so that she was able to read and write again. Rizal was given moral support and substantial aid in his medical practice in Hong Kong from some of his friends in Europe. Mr. Boosthead, the father of Nellie Boosthead, wrote to him on March 21, 1892, praising him for his medical profession. Dr. Ariston Bautista Lin sent him a congratulatory letter and a book on diagnostic pathology by Dr. H. Fierco and another medical book entitled Trait Diagnostic by Mesnikic. Don Antonio Vergel de Dios offered him his services for the purchase of medical books and instruments which he might need in his profession. Rizal possessed the qualities of a great ophthalmic surgeon. In the words of Dr. Geminiano do Campo, a distinguished Filipino ophthalmologist, Rizal conceived the establishment of a Filipino colony in North Borneo, Sabah. He planned to move those Filipino families to that British-owned island and carve out of its virgin wilderness a new Calamba. March 7, 1892, he went to Sandakan on board the ship Menon to negotiate with the British authorities for the establishment of a Filipino colony. His mission was successful. The British authorities of Borneo were willing to give the Filipino colonists 100,000 acres of land, a beautiful harbor and a good government for 999 years, free of all charges. By April 20th, he was back in Hong Kong. Rizal friends in Europe enthusiastically endorsed his Borneo colonization project. The famous whaler, whom the Cubans called the Butcher, was relieved of his gubernatorial office. A new Governor-General Eulogio Despujal, the Count of Caspe, announced to the Filipino people of a fine program of government. Rizal sent him a letter of felicitation dated December 23, 1891 and offering his cooperation, but instead the governor did not even acknowledge receipt of his letter. Rizal wrote a second letter dated March 21, 1892. In his second letter, he requested the Governor-General to permit the landless Filipinos to establish themselves in Borneo. Despujal did not give Rizal the courtesy of a reply. Instead, he notified the Spanish Consul-General in Hong Kong to tell Rizal that he could not approve the Filipino immigration to Borneo, alleging that the Philippines lacked laborers and it was not very patriotic to go off and cultivate foreign soil. He wrote Hang Mga Karapat Nang Tao, a Tagalog translation of the rights of man proclaimed by the French Revolution in 1789. About the same time 1891, he wrote A la Nación Española to the Spanish nation, which is an appeal to Spain to right the wrongs done to the Calamba tenants. Another proclamation, entitled Samanga Kababayan means to my countrymen, was written in December 1891 explaining the Calamba agrarian situation. Rizal contributed articles to the British daily newspaper, the Hong Kong Telegraph, whose editor, Mr. Fraser Smith, was his friend. March 2, 1892, Rizal wrote Una visita a la Victoria Jail, a Tagalog of Visit to Victoria Jail, an account of his visit to the colonial prison of Hong Kong. In this article, he contrasted the cruel Spanish prison system with the modern and more humane prison system. He wrote an article entitled, Colonization to British North Borneo, part of Familia de Isles Philippines, a Tagalog of colonization of British North Borneo by families from the Philippine island, to elucidate his Borneo colonization project. He elaborated on the same idea in another article in Spanish, Proyecto de Colonización del British North Borneo por los Filipinos, a Tagalog of Project of the Colonization of British North Borneo by the Filipinos. June 1892, he wrote La Mano Roja, a Tagalog of the Red Hand, which denounces the frequent outbreaks of intentional fires in Manila. Constitution of the Liga Filipina, printed in 1892, was the most important writing made by Rizal during Hong Kong sojourn. To deceive the Spanish authorities, the printed copies carries the false information that the printing was done by the London Printing Press, No. 25, Coolug Street, London. The idea of establishing the Liga Filipina was originally conceived by José Ma. Basa, but it was Rizal who wrote its constitution and realized its establishment. May 1892, Rizal made up his mind to return to Manila. The decision was spurred by the following. First, his to confer with Governor Despujal regarding his Borneo colonization project. Second, to establish the Liga Filipina in Manila. Lastly, to prove that Eduardo de Lete was wrong in attacking him in Madrid, that he, being comfortable and safe in Hong Kong, had abandoned the country's cause. Lete's attack, which was printed in La Solidaridad on April 15, 1892, portrayed Rizal as cowardly, egoistic, opportunistic, a patriot in words only. On June 19, 1892, he spent his 31st birthday in Hong Kong. Evidently, he had premonition of his death, for the following day, June 20, he wrote 2 letters which he sealed, inscribed in each, developed to be opened after my death, and gave them to his friend, Dr. Marquis, for safekeeping. The first letter was addressed to my parents, brethren, and friends. The second letter was addressed to the Filipinos. June 21, 1892, Rizal penned another letter in Hong Kong for Governor Despujal. In this letter, he informed the Governor-General of his coming to Manila and placed himself under the protection of the Spanish government. Rizal and his sister Lucia left Hong Kong for Manila. He carried a special passport or safe conduct issued by the Spanish Consul General in Hong Kong. The Spanish Consul General sent a cablegram to Governor Despujal that a victim is in the trap. On the same day, a secret case was filed in Manila against Rizal and his followers for anti-religious and anti-patriotic agitation. Despujal ordered his secretary, Luis de la Torre, to find out if Rizal was naturalized as a German citizen, as was rumored, so that he might take proper action against one who had the protection of a strong nation. The end. Thanks for watching.